Jill Biden may have accidentally admitted that she was the one running Joe's White House. Just pay close attention to this moment on MS Now.
Joe and Kamala, me, Doug, I thought we were a great team. We chose Kamala, or Joe chose Kamala to be VP, and so we were supportive of her. And look, when Joe got out, he handed over the reins to Kamala. He had full confidence in her. I went out on the road a lot for Kamala. And honestly, I truly believed she was going to win.
That's an interesting slip of the tongue, isn't it? We chose Kamala. Now, look, I know she could have been using the royal we. After all, they're married. They've been married for quite a while, and a lot of married couples view themselves as a team. But she wasn't part of Joe's administration. She played no official role in the government. She wasn't even an official part of his campaign. So why would you even say that? Why would you say we chose Kamala? Unless, she was the one secretly running the show. She was the one pulling the strings. And look, I know that sounds a little conspiratorial, but that's not that far-fetched if you think about it, because she's the one, after all, who took photos in Air Force One on the way to the G7 summit. She was reviewing materials as if she was some government official. She was sitting behind a desk, which a lot of people said kind of looked like the Resolute desk. It's almost as if she was sending out an image, and we all know Joe Biden wasn't cognitively there, so that raised the question, who was actually in charge, who was running the show? And there have been a lot of theories that perhaps, hey, it was Joe Biden. And I think that moment right there, well, it gives a lot of backing to those theories. The irony in all of this, of course, is that Jill was Joe's #1 cheerleader. She was the one behind the scenes allowing him to run again. She could have stepped in and intervened at any time, but no, she let Joe run for a second term, even though he promised that he wouldn't. And what's really interesting is that in this exact same interview, she claims she doesn't know whether or not he would survive a second term.
The diagnosis came in May of 2025, and considering what the president's health is now, had he continued his re-election bid, had he been elected again, would he have been able to serve as president? Would he have had to resign?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Absolutely ridiculous. And it's not as if Joe Biden, was getting terrible medical care. As president of the United States, he got world-class cutting-edge care that the rest of us would kill to have. So, prostate cancer, it's obviously terrible. All forms of cancer are terrible, but it is one of those illnesses. It is one of those diseases with the best prognosis, especially when it's caught early on. And I get that his has metastasized to the bone, but even that, look, there have been a lot of questions about the cover-up. There have been a lot of questions about his health. And just given that he was president for 4 years, supposedly before it was found, and they just found it late. Look, a lot of people have a hard time believing that. Well, the reason Jill Biden is out there doing all these interviews is because she is promoting her new memoir, and that leads to the question, why exactly is this happening now? Is she just trying to profit off of the family name, or is this a prelude for a 2028 run? Well, Politico reports that all the Democrats are actually really angry about this. Take a look at this headline. Why are we talking about this? Democrats are furious that the Bidens won't just go away. Now, look. Talking about Joe Biden may seem like yesterday's news. It may seem, so 2024, but it's actually really interesting in the context of the midterm elections. So you have that article from Politico, Democrats are furious that the Bidens are still in the picture, and you have to ask the question, why? And it's because the longer the Bidens are out there, it just reminds voters of how terrible the Democrat Party is. It reminds voters of that cover-up, of all the corruption that happened under Biden's administration. It shows that the party isn't capable of moving forward. You see that not just with Jill on the road, but you see that with the candidates running right now in the primaries. They all have no alternative vision, no alternative solutions. Their entire campaign, their entire platform as a party is anti-Trump, hating Trump, hating MAGA. When in the world are they going to find a leader? Right now, they're leaderless. They are rudderless. And to be honest, Jill being on all these networks is just going to remind voters how insulting the Democrat Party is. Because the Democrat, they treat the entire country as if we're idiots. Just, you cannot make this moment up on The View.
But you say and write that you hadn't seen that from him before. You hadn't seen that sort of slippage. Many aides had said otherwise, and of course, polls of Americans had expressed concerns about his age, perhaps not that performance. Do you think that there's a chance you had a blind spot to it as the person closest to him and to his spouse who just loves him so much?
You're saying many aides saw this. No one ever came to me and said, Jill, Joe's aging or something's wrong. So when I saw that, no doctors came to me and said that. And Joe, like I said, you said has a full team of doctors around him.
Look, I am sorry. If you are married to someone, you don't need an aide coming to you to tell you that your significant other has aged and is deteriorating. You should be on the first lines. You should be one of the first people who notices that. You, as his wife, should be saying, hey, honey, maybe you shouldn't run again. Hey, honey, maybe it's time to hand the reins over to someone else. But of course she didn't do that because she liked the proximity to power. And if the theory is correct, maybe she was the one actually pulling all of the strings. Maybe she was drunk and high on all of that power. Not saying that that's the case, but it would make a lot of sense. By the way, as a side note, does anyone else remember when Jill Biden and the rest of the Democrat Party and the media made such a big deal about her being a doctor? We were in the middle of a pandemic. Oh, no, she's not that type of doctor. She's the other type of doctor. Well, apparently, Jill forgot that she was a doctor.
He'd given so much of himself, and to see you even saying, I thought he was having a medical episode, I was concerned. Was there any part of you that went into protection mode of Joe, you can't keep doing this. They're taking so much from you.
But the doctors told me he was fine. I'm not a doctor. I am a doctor.
Yes, you are a doctor.
Oh, ha, ha, ha. That is so funny. Well, speaking of health, speaking of doctors, she actually revealed on CBS that she thought Joe Biden was having a stroke during his disastrous debate performance. And I just want to ask you to imagine yourself in her shoes. Let's say your husband, your wife, was out on a debate stage. Yes, maybe it was in front of the entire country, the entire world. But if you truly thought that they were having a serious medical episode, something as serious as a stroke or a heart attack, wouldn't you do something in that moment? Wouldn't you say, hey, can we put a pause to this? Can we get doctors out there? I don't know. All of this just seems like she's trying to play cover up, trying to make up for past mistakes.
Were you horrified as you saw it unfold?
I wasn't horrified. I was frightened because I had never, ever seen Joe like that before or since. Never.
Or since?
Yes. Or
You've
since.
never seen him like
never.
that?
No.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. As I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. And it scared me to death.
Again, this is just more evidence that the entirety of the Democrat Party thinks that the country is filled with idiots. Because, really, they want us to believe that that's the first time he's ever shown signs of cognitive decline. Oh, he's been totally there before. He's been totally there afterwards. He's never had a senior moment in his life. They really think that we are that dumb. Well, actually, on the Today Show, they finally gave Jill some pushback. The host here, kudos to him for actually holding Jill Biden's feet to the fire.
You continue to insist that the president was fine. How do you square thinking that he may have had a stroke with what you were saying in the days and weeks after? How do you square those?
Well, look, Craig, look at it from my point of view. So I'm watching, just like everybody else was, scared to death, like what is going on? He gets off the stage. I see he appears to be okay. He says to me, Jill, I really, in other words, messed up, didn't I? And I said, yes, you did.
Again, if you really thought he was having a stroke, why didn't you intervene with physicians? The other type of doctor. Why didn't you come rushing to the stage? Let's say you didn't want to interrupt the debate for whatever reason, for political reasons. That's just as grotesque and selfish and power hungry as it comes, because I think anyone who actually loved their husband, anyone who actually thought the husband they loved was having a stroke on stage, they wouldn't care at all about the election. They would say, no, we need to get medical professionals up there now. Well, even if you didn't want to interrupt the debate for those reasons, wouldn't you rush to the stage with doctors after the fact? She didn't do that at all. So I think it was a very fair question. I love that he asked her that because she is trying to have it both ways here. Well, in her book, in her new memoir, she writes that, she didn't want to lie to Joe. She wanted to be honest to him. And so that's why she talked to him as if he was some sort of kindergartner. Oh, you answered all the question. You knew all the facts. Okay, yeah. Well, the Today Show host wasn't having that one either.
I'm his wife. I've got to lift him up. So we go to the next event, and I'm thinking, what do I say that will lift him up? That is true. I want to say the things that are true. And so I said, you answered every question. My mind's racing.
That's a pretty low bar.
Well,
I mean,
it is a low bar, and Jill Biden is just sinking lower and lower by trying to promote this book, trying to whitewash history, trying to cover up her role in the cover-up of Joe Biden's cognitive decline. Well, my favorite moment here actually was on The View, because it's no secret that Jill Biden has very harsh feelings towards Kamala Harris, as well as her husband, Doug Emhoff. Well, Jill was asked to respond to something in Doug's book, and, well, things got a little feisty. But before we get into that, I would like to acknowledge the members of today's Governor's Club. They are Susie W. Thank you. That was very gracious of you. Moon Fairy 11, Peach Saint Scruffette, Kathleen Ide, and Jeremy 2001 Happy. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you enjoy. Without further ado, here is Jill Biden responding to some of the criticism that she got. I just enjoy the beef here.
In her book, she alludes to a much more fractured relationship between the Bidens and the Emhoffs. She writes that your family asked if she and Doug were loyal to your family. And she wrote that her husband, Doug, said they hide you away for 4 years, give you impossible bleep jobs, don't correct the record when those tasks are mischaracterized, never fight back when you're attacked, never praise your accomplishments. And then he added, and still they have to ask if we're loyal.
I just want to stop there because I know I'm going to forget before the end of this clip. But that's really interesting that Kamala Harris and her husband are claiming that the Bidens wanted to, have a loyalty test on them. Isn't that what the Democrats are criticizing President Trump of doing? Oh, President Trump wants loyalists. Oh, President Trump wants loyalty tests. The Bidens are no different. The only difference, really, is that they did it behind the scenes. They kept it under the table. President Trump is at least honest enough to do it out in the open. With Trump, you know exactly what you're getting. So even if you don't agree with everything he says or does, even if you don't like how he says or how he does it, you at least know what you're getting. Compared to someone like the Bidens, the family like the Bidens, oh, they look so poised, oh, they look so presidential, yet they're the vipers behind the scenes.
Yeah. How do you respond to that?
I never saw that. I never felt that way with Kamala and Doug. I thought we were a great team. Joe.
You look shocked.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know. We were a team. And that July 4th that we were together, it was like we were saying to America, hey, we are the team. It is Joe and Kamala. We are together. And so I feel, Joe chose her. And for Doug to feel that way, I really am surprised. When you read my book,
yeah.
I talk about Doug. I love that he went into teaching. We talk about it all the time. We traveled together.
Yeah.
We had so many laughs together. And so that kind of surprises me.
Really interesting. She couldn't finish that one sentence. What was she going to say? I love Doug. I love Kamala. Why couldn't she finish that sentence? I know it seems like a small detail. Some might say I'm trying to read too much in between the lines there, but I do think it's really interesting that she couldn't finish it. She stopped herself. She caught herself. What is going on there? The things that make you wonder. As always, though, all of this is just my analysis and commentary. That's what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So what do you think about my assertion earlier that this could potentially be one of the things that hurts the Democrats in the midterms? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Again, I don't think that this is going to necessarily sway the midterms one way or another, but personally, I do think it reminds Americans of how corrupt Biden's administration is, of how elitist the Democrat Party is, of how they look down on everyday Americans and how they think we're idiots and how they think they can deceive us with cover-ups. Again, I don't think it's necessarily going to be the one thing that sways everyone's vote, but hey, if there is a straw that breaks the camel's back, that means that there are tons of other pieces of straw underneath, and this, in my opinion, is one of them. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Yes, as you can see, we are moving in. Drogon is back there. I have Matt Trim's bed here, and we are building the kitties a nice surprise on the wall. It is going to be custom built, learning some woodworking, so hopefully it turns out okay, but the move is going well. Again, sorry for the delay, but it was a lot harder to move across state lines, my first time doing that in my adult life, than I anticipated, but we are settling in nicely, and it's good to finally be back in the swing of things. If you haven't, again, just be sure to give me a thumbs up. It really does help me in the algorithm, and be sure to check out one of these videos.